Hey, it's Mike from BlindsOnline.com. I'd like to show you how to install your brand new light filtering roller shade that you've ordered from us. When you unpack it from the box, it'll look a little something like this. If you've ordered the clutch mechanism, which is standard on our shades, it'll have a bead chain hanging from the clutch, and it'll have a little piece of paper around the shade just to hold it in place. And along with the shade, you'll also get your mounting brackets. Your mounting brackets look a little something like this, and these are considered universal brackets. They can be used for inside mount, outside mount, ceiling mount, and they look very much the same because they are the same. There's no left side or right side, so you can use either bracket on either side. Alright. Now, if you've ordered these particular shades, also have some options like your optional tassel. Okay, these tassels will also get installed. Once the shade is installed, you'll have, the last thing you'll do is put your little tassel. And again, this is an option that you can select when you're purchasing your shades. But let's talk about installing the shade right now. The first thing I'm going to run you through is how you'd mount the shade as an outside mount if you've chosen outside mount in your order. You'll take your brackets, okay, and simply bring the brackets up to the window trim just like this, okay, and you'll see there's two pre-drilled holes in the brackets, and what you're going to do is pre-drill some holes into the molding so that when you put your screws through, you don't split and crack your moldings. Alright, so pre-drill first, put your screws through, put your brackets in this position right here, and I will show you how to insert the shade once we get to the installation portion. If you decide to mount this up above the window molding like so, that's also an option. However, we do suggest that you request your optional spacer blocks that would go behind the mounting bracket right here. And what that'll do is it'll push the bracket far enough away from the wall so that the shade doesn't interfere with the molding. Okay, so that's for your outside mount. If you decide to do a ceiling mount, the brackets get turned this way, and you can mount the bent portion of the bracket directly up into the ceiling or up into the window frame if you prefer. Okay, but what we're going to do today is we're actually going to mount this shade as an inside mount. Inside mount meaning inside the window frame, all right, just as we see it here. So grab one bracket and a screw gun if you have one. If you don't, you can always use a screwdriver and put the screws in by hand. We'd like you to take the bracket and put it in this position right here so that the L portion of the bracket is facing back toward the window. At that point, in this case, we're going to place the bracket as far back as I can in the window frame, and I'm going to push the bracket all the way up to the top of the window frame. Now, here's where it gets a little tricky. Okay? If your shade is a little bit too thick, you might have to bring that bracket down a bit because the roller gets a little bit wider the longer the shade is because it has to roll more fabric onto the roller. So in this instance, we're going to push the bracket all the way up. We're going to put our two mounting screws into the window frame, and we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. And now we have our mounting brackets in position, ready to accept the shade. So once your mounting brackets are set, you can grab your window shade, and in this particular instance we've ordered it with the controls on the right hand side. So the first thing I'd like you to do is insert the control end, okay, which has the chain hanging from it, and it'll also have these two little vertical nubs on the edge of the clutch. And I'd like to insert those into the vertical slots of the bracket, okay, just like this. And you'll notice they fit perfectly right in there. Okay, once we have them in there, we're going to just push down on it a little bit to make sure that the clutch is seated into the bracket. And then we're going to go to the opposite side. The opposite side has a spring-loaded pin, okay, and that spring-loaded pin actually seats itself into the center hole of the opposite bracket. So we're going to push back on that little pin until it's aligned with the center hole, and then release it. And it'll fit directly into that center hole. Now that shade is actually mounted into the brackets. Now once we have the shade set in the brackets, then you can remove this little piece of paper. If you notice, it says do not remove this final wrapping until after the shade is installed. So now would be the time to remove this piece of paper. Okay, we're going to take that off, and that's going to release the shade. It's going to allow the shade to come down when you pull on the chain. Okay, now this shade was ordered with an optional scallop. This is our scallop style number 101, and this shade color is the sand color. Okay, it's the Heritage Color Sand, and it has a shell colored trim on the edge. So you have your shell trim, your sand shade, and your Style 101 scallop on the bottom. Now, we've also included with this shade a child safety device, and that's what this little mechanism here is here on the bottom. And we'd like you to mount that before you actually start operating the shade. Now, if it is an inside mount, you're going to take the little plastic piece that comes along with this, insert it into the little hole that's in the child safety device, bring it up to the window, and just put some tension on it. We want to push down on this so that this little portion of the device aligns with the two little lines, okay, that are on the device. Okay, so you're going to have to pull down just enough, and that's going to set the spring tension. Okay, once you have that tension set, I'd like you to mark where the holes are on the tension device holder. That's this little plastic piece. Because what you're going to do is you're going to drive 2 screws into that in order to hold everything in place. Now, rather than do this, and I just want to expedite the process a little bit, we're going to insert a screw here and here, and then last but not least, we're going to take the little tiny screw that we supply, that's this guy right here, and we're going to insert it into this little hole. Okay, that will complete the installation of the child safety device. So it's 2 screws here, 1 screw in the center. Remember to set the tension so that you pull down on this so that it's in line with the little marking on the bottom of it, and that will hold the chain in place so that when you operate the shade, that chain isn't going to be flopping around, it won't have access to any young children, and it will be safe. Alright? As far as the scallop goes on a shade like this, we've just unrolled it, so it's just come out of its package. It may take a little while to settle. That'll come in time, so just give it 24 hours or so to settle down. If you did order the optional pull, one of our decorative pull options, that also can be installed after the fact. It'll come with a little threaded screw like so. You'll see that they've actually punched the hole for us, and that's what they've marked with this little piece of monofilament here. We're going to place this screw into the hole from behind, okay, so until the screw pops out the front, and then we're just going to thread this piece onto the screw, and ultimately that'll be the final look once that's screwed on. Okay, so the screw goes in through the back. Oops. Yep. And then we just screw the decorative pull onto the bottom, and that will be the final outcome. Okay, so that's how you mount your clutch operated shade. If it were a spring roller, we wouldn't have the chain. We would have a set of brackets, and we would just insert the roller into the brackets, and then you'd pull the shade down without the use of the clutch mechanism. The clutch mechanism gives you a little bit more control. It's something that we do recommend on every shade purchase. We do include it at no additional cost, so I think it would be the smart way to go. Now, if you have any additional questions on how to install your shades, please feel free to call me. My name is Mike from blindsonline.com, and thanks for watching.